Welcome to the Humans and AI podcast, powered by AI Frontier Network. I'm your host, Flor Laorga. Each episode, we dive into the human story shaping artificial intelligence through the journeys of entrepreneurs, builders, and leaders. We explore the insights, challenges, and visions for the future of AI and humanity. Let's uncover the human side of AI together. Yeah, great. Hi, Kevin. Very nice to meet you. Thanks for joining the Humans and AI podcast. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention this before starting, but I also interview you on AI Time Journal, actually. I don't know. I don't even know if you know it, but I was checking because doing research about you, I saw that actually I interviewed you before. Your name was familiar to me, so I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
So there's already, I know how you're going to answer some stuff, so that's kind of, I have extra, maybe advanced here.
You know what? We can go in any direction you want today then.
Great.
Like however, preset questions, but feel free to go anywhere.
Thank you, Kevin. So let's start then. Okay, Kevin, you study finance and business, right? So obviously you are doing a startup and you're a founder and the CEO of Fairmarkit. By the way, the name, it's very interesting. Makes sense for what you do, Fairmarkit. But before going into that, when did you decide to start this company? Because it's a company that stores things. It's a sourcing platform that you help other organizations to scale as well, to do it at a scale. Yeah. How did you start that idea?
Yeah. Funny real quick on the name my wife came up with. Because we went through in the beginning, I think most probably founders go through it. You make a list of 200 names, you figure out what's available. She ended up coming up with it, and we originally had a different idea for the company. And then that name actually hit as we pivoted to this idea that we're on right now. It's kind of been a fun journey in itself in the name. But yeah, today we are an AI sourcing platform. We work with companies, pretty much large enterprise like Nestle, BP, Snowflake, Goodyear. But the original problem that we saw, and the reason that we got into this, is because I was on the sales side, working at some larger companies, some venture-backed companies, and it just seemed wild how broken, how archaic the buying and selling process was. And it's not good for either side. It is long sales cycles, different pricing for different customers, which is confusing for sellers and then for buyers as well. And it just takes a really long time to buy things. So I'd seen what was available on the sales side, but then when we started Fairmarkit, we were actually looking to solve a problem around price transparency. And we started to meet with some early customers, and we got our first foray into what procurement looks like. And there's different varieties of like different procurement setups and systems. But one of our first customers, it was a very old legacy on-prem solution that was just like, it looked like it was from the 70s. And I thought, there's no way that this is what the industry should have today. And we thought, okay, there's probably some really big inefficiencies and areas to improve it with tech, not even tech today of Gen AI and agents, but even just basic automation, RPA, ML at the time was the main thing. So it was, how do we start to look at this problem of this inefficient buying and selling, apply tech to it, to not try to reinvent the entire thing right off the bat, because procurement is an archaic legacy space, but start to show wins along the way and how you can actually work with the existing setup and process and just amplify it with new tech. So that was one of the early kind of like bets that we made. It panned out for our initial kind of like push in, which was tactical or tail spend, so small to medium sized transactions. But it's been a journey since then. The last 5 years has been pretty nuts.
Okay. You've said as well that automation, because you are using obviously AI, like everyone. So you've said automation alone can fix how companies buy. Why do you say that?
That it can't alone solve what companies, yeah. There's no silver bullet to anything. In my view, there's different use cases that different tech makes sense for different use cases. There's absolutely some still where basic automation makes the most sense in a buying process. There's some where AI makes the most sense, where you need more predictable outcomes. There's some where Gen AI makes sense, where it needs to be more unique creative outcomes or thoughts, say to better enhance the supplier experience or the buyer experience or the requester experience. And then now there's so many cool use cases around how an agentic workforce can help. So I guess the main point is, it's not about, in my view, oh, we're an AI company, or we're an ML company, or an automation company, an agentic company. It's how do you put those puzzle pieces together correctly to use the right tech for the right use case? But then the real mastery comes, how do you do that so it's a simple end user experience? So it's kind of like the simplifying the complexity of procurement you're kind of like building these puzzle pieces to get them all right together. So when that end user that engages, like the even procurement's customers, their end users, with the procurement process, it's an awesome experience. And they don't need to know what's running under the hood. They don't care whether it's running, which LLM they're running on, what version of it, like how many parameters was it trained on. It doesn't matter to them. It's, did we make their process simple? And did it deliver a good business outcome, a good business value for the organization? If those things are hit, awesome. The rest really doesn't matter.
Great. So talking a little bit about agentic AI that you can, or agentic, as you said before, I've read one of your posts that I found very interesting and I would like to discuss this with you. And it's about, you say, people are throwing around the job title agentic engineers. I thought more when talking about what the future of the procurement teams will look like, or agentic managers. Could you explain a little bit that?
Yeah, it's one of those where I didn't even see a post on it in terms of like people posting for the job. It's just our customers started to talk about these agentic engineers or agentic process managers or agentic directors. And I think it's more of just like the mindset shift where in any space, specifically in procurement, you typically had the leadership of procurement that was setting the direction. You'd have these process owners that would set up a lot of the tech, all the flows, the integrations. And then you would have like a strategic team and a tactical team. So you have all these different layers, but all the way down the tactical team, it's people doing like very repetitive, redundant work, but it had to get done. So the original thought for Fairmarkit was, let's make that team wildly more efficient and let's make them more effective. So not just be able to do more, do it faster, but have a better business outcome. What we learned over time is you could actually start to use AI to just completely take that workload off those people's plate. So then they started to elevate to more strategic work, which is great. So then now it's thinking like, all right, how do you build tech for these people that want to have a much bigger influence, these strategic people that can do more, it's more thought-provoking, it's career progressing. But then this next wave is even those people are doing the same tasks over and over again, even if it's value-adding work. So the way I've had a lot of customers positioned to me is in a future state, like AI and agents can do 90% of that. And the main thing is we need agentic engineers that know how to set up the agents and be able to talk and work with our AI platforms, but then be able to iterate on them over time. Because where it was AI 3 years ago, it was Gen AI a year and a half, 2 years ago, now it's agentic today, there's something next, and there's something next. And as much as people want to say, no, this is it, this is the big thing, it's going to keep coming. So I think it's more the mindset shift of we need people that are always in the forefront of being able to help our team utilize it and not just think about how do you just keep doing the same thing over and over again, but engineering what the future can be like, which is cool. It's a good, cool mentality.
Great. Thanks for sharing. Can you share a case study of how Fairmarkit has transformed procurement process for one of your clients? If you have more examples, you can give, but one at least, if you can share, it would be nice.
Yeah, well, I mean, they got a couple different ones. There's one Fortune 500 company that they were sourcing about 50,000 RFPs a year, so sourcing events a year, all done manually. They brought us in and they set us up to say, okay, can AI look at what we're purchasing, set up the sourcing event, set it the correct way, the optimal way, AI recommend the right suppliers, AI to solicit the bids back, and then be able to award based off our policies and procedures the overall bid. So can you do it in a partial or a fully touchless way? So that customer went from doing about 50,000 manual sourcing events, which is a massive team, to doing about 175,000 sourcing events now, with about 80,000 of them being completely touchless, that no human even touches it. Like completely, there's no interaction from a human. There's oversight to see what's happening, but there's no interaction. So that would be an example of like, all right, how do we just like massively accelerate the process? The benefits of competitive sourcing are typically you get a better price, you get better lead times, you get to make sure you're getting more market data on what you're buying. And that could be good if you have a tariff situation, if you need to be able to be more diverse from the continuity. It could be good if there's any shortages for any parts or services that your business relies on. So that'd be one. It's like, all right, how do we help? They know they want to source more. They didn't want to keep adding people. We helped them almost 3x kind of what they were sourcing and do it with less people. The other example would be like we do with a lot of our tech companies, or just overall companies, is they're saying right now, the end user experience of going into a procurement solution is just so bad. It's rigid. You don't put in great data. People interact all the day in their consumer life, and then they go into the enterprise and they're like, damn it. It just feels like the enterprise. It's very rigid. It's drop down. It's kind of like why people like make jokes about the procurement process. It doesn't matter what line of business you're in. Like everyone knows the procurement process is bad. So what we've done is actually we've given the ability for end users, so requesters, to actually go through an experience that is agentic and Gen AI enabled, where it's very personalized for them. So it knows about them, it knows about their buying habits, it knows about their policies and procedures at the company. And as they look to buy something, we can very intelligently guide them to the right place or the right direction, or to go the optimal route without them even knowing that they're being guided. So it's kind of I don't love this saying, but it's kind of like the freedom without control, where they have the freedom to do what they want within the control of what the business wants. But because it's personalized to them, there's no like random procurement BS around asking like questions about GL codes that they don't know. They just want to buy XYZ part, or they just want a marketing team to come in with XYZ service to help out.
Okay, so in all this process, where do you think that a human touch is still very important, even in highly automated sourcing process?
I have a strong thought on this. I'm curious. Do you have a thought? Are you like, what's your take?
What? Sorry, what do you say?
I have a thought. I'm curious to hear what's your take, because this is an open debate of a question. I'm curious.
Okay, so
You talk
I
to a
think
lot of AI leaders.
yeah, the thing about me, it's like I think that a human touch is very important. I feel AI agents and things are very good, but for me, it's more like it helped me to be more efficient, more productive. But I don't think that replaced me 100%. At least it can replace 80% of my tasks or 90%, but there's this 10%. I think it's still human, me, myself. So I don't think, and also in the sourcing process, I think the buying and selling things, I feel like the relationship and the connection with the client, if you want something for long term, right? I feel like it's easier if you do it with the human touch instead of something that's completely automated.
Yeah, a couple thoughts on this. I disagree on that last point, where I do think that there is elements for sure where you need the human interaction. It's a question of when, though, because a lot of the human interaction right now is like tactical work that's like not, it just slows things down. So I do see a world where most of the like a marketplace, a buyer and seller, it's agents working with agents, not competing, not battling of the agents, which everyone tries to hype up and get people all like in arms about. But so no, there's agents that are trying to accomplish a business task on this side and then this side as well. Can they work together in a very logical way? And then when there's high impact decisions, can we then bring in humans for those decisions, but not just bring them in with AIs and agents recommendation on what to do for them to approve or to get on the phone to talk about? So like I've been trying to think of how do you define what those impact decisions are? And I think you're right. Like they're different for every organization and every industry. One of the ways we started to think about it was like a quadrant where it's trying to think about like a risk quadrant. So what is the reversibility or irreversibility of that decision? So if the agent makes a decision, can you pull it back or not? And then what's the risk profile of it? So is it touching sensitive data? Is it touching a financial transaction? Whatever it is. So if you have something that is high risk and high irreversibility, humans definitely need to be in the loop and involved. Awesome. If it's low risk and it's very reversible, then that seems like a lighter touch. So for us, like it's all agent specific too. We would prefer that humans are in the loop more off the bat. And even if it's just to take a look and to approve the action the agent's about to do. Example, someone puts in a procurement request, doesn't have enough information. Cool. A very obvious thing for an agent to do is look at it and say, I don't think it has enough information. Let me go Slack or Teams or email that requester to clarify it. Now, I think like in my view, it should just be able to go do that. But because it's still new, agents are new, in a lot of places, they want to have someone that can check, approve for that agent to go do that task. So that would be one example. Like over time, though, you probably see that call comes up 100,000 times. 99.9% of the time, the human says, go do it. Then you don't need that human in the loop. So I think you can step people into it over time. And obviously, every use case is a little different. But it does come back as well to what's the trust in the agents? Can you audit it? Can you have a log to see what's happened? Because if you lose trust, then game over. Like you're not going to, like all the rest of your products are going to go under.
100%. By the way, I like that challenge. Turn into me. I love it. I like it. This is fun.
It's because there's no right answer right now.
Yeah.
There's, I think the big thing that we keep hearing though is a year ago, all we were talking about is like the models and like how are you setting up embedded agents versus workflow agents. And now what people are talking about is what's the user experience and what's the business value that drives. So I like how the conversation shifted a little from like the newest launch, which we can talk about GPT-5. We don't need to. I don't know how long this episode will be posted in, But it's more about, all right, like, what does that mean for a human? And I think the main thing I keep coming back to is like, they don't care. Like, it really doesn't matter. Like, they're just looking to get their job done. And then it's our job and the teams we work with to make that as easy and effective as possible.
Okay, so you also said something that I found very interesting. It is, and also one of your posts on LinkedIn. It was the future is looking more like we are going to be correcting the last 1 to 10% of AI or agents' work, and the agents are going to become to us for help when needed.
Yeah, that's what I was going to challenge you on a little bit on yours. It's of that 20% you're still going to be doing. Do you think it's going to be your 20%? It's going to be the same 20% as what you're doing today? Or is 20% of your effort going to be working with agents on new work that you're not doing today? What do you think?
Yeah, actually, I agree. I think it's gonna be like instead of having employees as humans, you have robots. So you just say, hey, you kind of control, just say that, okay, you are doing good. So basically, I kind of agree with that. But yeah, I think I actually agree. In this case, I agree with you.
And there's no right answer. But it used to be like, all right, AI can help out at the end. It's correcting things, it's looking at things. Now it's like, I think in a perfect state, you don't have to tell AI or agents what to do. It's agents are doing the work and they're coming to you. Think about yourself sitting at a desk and they're like, you have a whole workforce of agents that like you've already trained. Ideally, you've certified them for the job. You'd certify a human, you should probably certify an agent, but you like certified from the job. And then they're bringing you when they feel like it's an impact decision or they need you to look at something or correct something. Or that, hey, maybe I'm 90% right typically on this, but 10% wrong. Can you look at this specific task? But yeah, like I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but I do think that it kind of goes back to an agentic engineer. Who knows? I think the roles are just going to be very different. And in our world, one thing that could mean is like instead of you having to say, go build this agent, or you saying, oh, I want an agent to look at this thing and kick it off. I like for us, because we're in the procurement world, a really interesting one is if agents are in real time looking at all your contracts. Companies have thousands or tens of thousands of contracts, looking to see when is a contract going to expire in 6 months, 3 months, whatever it is. Have that agent proactively go out and say, we have market data on this. How are we utilizing this contract? Let's work with the other stakeholders to get more information and then come back to procurement with, hey, here's this contract coming up. Here's all the information around it. Here's what I think we should do. I think we should run a sourcing event, then do a negotiation. Am I good to go do that task? Go for it. Cool. It does the task for you, brings back the results with a recommendation of what to do. Hey, I have these couple questions. All right, let me look into that. They come back and then they can go and award and update the stakeholders. So I think like agents coming to you to get approval, I think is a much cooler setup than having to have everyone think about like, how do I set up all my agents?
Okay, I like your idea actually. It's good. So talking a little bit because before we were saying a little bit about if how much you trust your agents. So talking a little bit about trust. How do you maintain transparency with users about how decisions are made?
Yeah, it's another interesting question around guardrails. Like, how do you set up guardrails? I think it comes down to the types of decisions that are being made that the agents are making and what level of transparency and visibility do you want. And just to pull it back a step too, this shouldn't just be agents. This should be AI. This should be Gen AI. Like, how are those decisions getting made? So like we've seen it very much. One of our core like proprietary aspects of AI is still our supplier recommendation engine. So as a purchase gets pulled in for a good, a service, whatever it is, we use AI across a lot of different ways to try to recommend who are the right suppliers that should get invited to this sourcing event. Now, inherently, there could be arguments around how are our models weighted, like how are different things boosted. So what we've done a big push in the last couple of years is for people that want the additional transparency to dig in, they can. So they can look at seeing like how do we have things weighted? How are things scored? Where is this data pulling from? Like why are the metrics how they are? But for most people, they look at it a couple of times, they say, "Oh, I got it." That being said, we do have situations where we'll look back retro and say, you know what? It's interesting that this cohort of suppliers was weighted or recommended more than these. And then it does come down to the underlying data. Like pretty much always, it's like, all right, how did we ingest this data? Was it incomplete? Did we have enough information? And the example for there could be like diverse suppliers, women-owned, veteran-owned, minority-owned suppliers, sustainable suppliers. Say they weren't getting recommended as much as the company wanted to. We didn't have them tagged internally correctly as a diverse business and have that tag tied to a company policy that says we want to work more with diverse businesses, then that could impact their boosting if we didn't push them up far enough. So I do think I don't think there's a silver bullet, once again, as I said earlier, and I think it's a moving target. But the way we've done it to build trust with our customers is if we're part of the education phase around what is Gen AI, what are agents? We're the first guinea pigs usually go through these big companies, their AI, Gen AI, now agentic security questionnaires, which are like beasts. And it's things that like we're all discovering as we go. I think that transparency has just let people know, you know what, these aren't irreversible decisions. We're not making super high risk decisions. So is there going to fine tuning needed? For sure. But let's do it together on the journey. Because if not, then like we're going to fall behind everyone else. That's other players, and the enterprise will fall behind their competitors.
Okay, I know that this kind of, it's as you say, there's many things going on with AI. And like every day is a new title, new thing, like a new role. As well, I've heard that they were talking. I don't know who was that. I think one of the guests that I was talking to as well. He was saying something about agentic apps. So as well as another new thing. So there's so many things going on. So talking a little bit about this, how do you envision the role of procurement professionals evolving as AI takes a more of transaction work and there's way more things going on with AI and new technology innovation?
Yeah, I've heard it from a bunch of customers that we partner with very closely on this like journey, and they're viewing it as it's the jobs will go away, but it doesn't mean that people go away. So the job title for this tactical worker, yes, they won't need that specific job. But if that person up levels their game, is interested to learn new skills, they will and they can have that new agentic job or the new AI job, whatever it is. So I think that's kind of an interesting one. I also think like we see a big shift where companies that used to want to go out and do say 100,000 sourcing events a year, which would usually take a lot of people to, even with Fairmarkit, to get that done. Like a lot of people are being relative. They're now saying instead of going on hiring a low cost employee base to do all these sourcing events, I'm going to instead hire 10 really freaking good, like agentic forward like leaders to and scrappy leaders to go and to set up and to continuously be evolving so we can run that many sourcing events, but we do it in an innovative way that keeps evolving and getting better. So even from a budget perspective, like they're going to be saving some money, but like even that, it's not meant to save money because they're going to pay those people a ton more. Because if you're an agentic engineer and you're like a really good agentic engineer, think about the data science world. It's just like, it's really hard to find great people. So when you do, you pay them a lot. So they're not even thinking about that from that perspective because the main thing that they just don't want to do is keep doing the same thing over and over again and banging their head against the wall. And they just want to always be getting better, better, better. And you have to pay for people that can deliver that. But like they see those people as force multipliers. So that it's been a cool shift.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. So just to wrap up, do you have any advice that you would give? I know you're very young, I know, but I know that just what you've done, you have a very as well big career as well. So do you have any advice that you would give to the young entrepreneurs or the yeah who would like to start now building something really with the AI?
Yeah, I'd say
Or
two
everything
things.
is our AI, so
Yeah, I'd say it's less about even AI and agentic. It's more about the mentality. And one of our board members said it. It's like the DNA of like, all right, I'm just hungry to go fast and learn the new tech, try out new things, like get in front of customers and explore on it. So I'd say like it's an incredibly exciting time, no matter what stage you are. I think big companies think it's exciting because cool, now we can reinvent. We think it's like I'd say we're more like low stage, mid stage, growth stage. Because for us, it's cool. We have all these customers that want to go on the journey with us. And if you're really early stage, you can just build from scratch and do whatever you want and try to figure it out, which is a fun time. I'd say the big thing to people that are, and I've said before on different like podcasts, the risk of starting your own company is not as big of a risk as people think. Like, what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work. You figure that out in 6 months, a year, 18 months, whatever it is. And you just built all these skill sets, probably a great network, all these new muscles. And it's an incredibly marketable like experience of, hey, I want to start my own agentic company or AI company. It didn't work. Here's why. It was a battle. I grinded every day. I'm looking to take that intensity and come to your company and join your journey. Like, hell yeah. Like, we have a lot of people at Fairmarkit that have run their own companies or they want to in the future. And like, they want to join as well, teaming up with other people that have that mentality. So I would say, yes, like maybe on your income for a year or two, because you're probably not going to get paid anything or much in the first year or two. You'd want to make sure that gets figured out. But other than that, in terms of the career risk, it's so low. And I'd say it's the exact opposite. You actually pick, even if it doesn't work, you pick up so much experience and skills that's probably going to boost your career regardless. So I just think, just give it a go.
great. Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate a lot your time and all this conversation. It was very fun. So thank you for joining and coming to the Humans and AI podcast.
Yeah, had a blast. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening to the Humans and AI podcast. We are here to spotlight the people making AI more human, one story at a time. See you in the next episode.